From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. The city of Nashville will complete its quest to elect a mayor this coming Thursday when voters go to the polls in a runoff election between incumbent Mayor David Briley and at-large Metro Councilman John Cooper. They will also be choosing some district and at-large council members on September 12th. Two local journalists who have covered the mayor's race in depth and our guests on Inside Politics. They are Yihyun Jeong from the TENNESSEAN and Tony Gonzalez of WPLN Nashville Public Radio. Welcome both, and thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Let's talk first about the issue that's become kind of dominant in the campaign in this last few days. That would be the role of Metro and its workers in assisting federal ICE officials in rounding up local undocumented citizens. Now, neither mayoral candidate supports city workers being federalized on this matter, as they would put it. So why is it an issue, since they both seem to agree?
Well, I think there's been a lot of incidents, or at least recent incidents in the city with, an ICE standoff in Hermitage and the shooting yesterday in Antioch, and then reports that the city's probation department is, sharing information with ICE agents. So it seems to be in the news, and, these candidates are responding to that. And this Tuesday, Mayor David Briley signed an executive order, calling on state lawmakers to repeal, the anti-sanctuary cities law, and kind of outlining how metro departments and, employees should, the steps they should take when it comes to requests for information they get from federal agencies.
Tony, it seems like Mayor Briley has been a lot more aggressive about this than John Cooper.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think to me that fits kind of the recent trend in the campaign, which is Mayor Briley leaning into these sort of national political topics. So immigration is just one of them. He's talking about gun control and even climate change lately.
The woman's right to choose is also coming up.
That's right. That's true. So, I think strategically he's made the decision to lean into some of these national topics, and he's using the word progressive a lot. Mm-hmm. He's talking about his progressive track record. That's definitely a change from earlier in the election.
Now, Ian, so far, John Cooper, if you ask him what he thinks about this issue, he'll respond, but he doesn't volunteer or talk about this the way David Briley does. He does talk about being progressive. Why is he not going to get out on this issue very much?
Right. Well, as you said, Cooper does give a response when asked, and I think he's pretty measured and careful with the words he's using. And, I would think that some of that would have to be with the conservative voters that he's really resonating with here in town. But I would say as well, we talk about the conveniency of this. That state law passed, more than a year ago. And so sure, these incidents have come up recently, but what did Mayor Briley say about this issue back then?
Now, Mayor Briley, is he just going down to the count on this? Is he going to fight on these progressive issues? Is it also a problem that since Cooper sort of focuses on being a good on local neighborhood type issues, that may not be one that's as good for Briley, because his neighborhood policies, or lack thereof in some cases, have been one of the reasons he's been attacked. So it's better for him to go do that. Is he trying to shame some John Ray Clemens voters in particular to come back and vote for him?
Well, and they are in different positions. I mean, one of them is currently the mayor. So I think you would expect the mayor to maybe make more statements. So I mean, I think that's part of it, like taking those stances. But yeah, I mean, when we ask the candidates what is the role of the mayor, David Briley says part of the job is symbolic or political or changing the dialogue, and another part of it is sort of the management of the city. John Cooper is pretty clear that he thinks it's an administrative, managerial job. So whether that's exactly what they think, that's certainly the stances they're staking out, I think, to build the contrast.
And I guess Cooper has to be careful about this, because he's trying to get support from both the Carol Swain voters and the John Ray Clemens voters. And on this issue and a lot of other social and political issues, those two types of voters are very different. So trying to bring those two together to his side, he has to be careful what he says, because he might wind up alienating one side or both.
Yeah, I think, Briley in the runoff especially has trying to reframe the conversation to be more, again, about national and social issues, and trying to get, poking at Cooper to respond to that, saying, why aren't you standing up for these? And, Cooper's stance there is, my policies and my ideas are for all Nashvillians. And he's saying local issues, realistically for him, he says, are issues that concern both the right and left. As crazy as it is, on certain issues they agreed when it comes to Nashville and local issues.
I will add, John Ray Clemens was quick to issue statements on local or national politics. So I do think there is maybe tactically a reason that Briley would be making those statements to court John Ray Clemens voters. I mean, if you look at John Ray Clemens on Twitter or social media, he's quick to put his opinions out there on topics local and national. So I do think it's probably partially a play to catch the attention of those Clemens voters and try to move them to Briley.
Is there any indication this is having an impact in the race? Is it moving any numbers towards Briley?
I think despite Briley's best efforts, we see him, coming out on the debate stage and forum stage, trying to really giving the sharpest criticism to Cooper so far. But, according to, some of the latest polls we've seen, I think there still hasn't, made the impact that he has hoped for. It seems that likely Carol Swain voters are going to be voting for Cooper in the runoff, and that, not a huge majority, but, 56% of Clemens voters would likely go vote out, for Cooper in the runoff.
Executive orders usually expire with the end of a mayor's term, so what Mayor Briley has put out technically will go out of office if he goes out of office later in September. But there's a long history in Metro of the next mayor coming in, issuing his or her first executive orders, continuing all the previous executive orders in place. Is that what John Cooper is going to do in this case? Because there's some political consequences one way or the other for him. What do you think he'll do?
I mean, I think if John Cooper becomes the mayor, I don't exactly know what the calculation is for him on these executive orders. Obviously, this immigration order is difficult or nuanced. Mm-hmm. Part of what's at play there is John Cooper has some other promises and policy ideas that are going to require him to go talk to state lawmakers. So,
like trying to get a bigger share of the tourism taxes.
Right.
Exactly, and that's far from guaranteed. So I think there are several variables about how is this conversation going to work with various lawmakers. I do think there's a risk to harming that relation. It's not a great relationship as it is.
Right.
But to go further apart, although if you ask David Briley or John Cooper, they will tell you that they want that relationship to be better with the state legislature. They treaded carefully, except for this executive
Tony
order.
Gonzalez of WPLN Nashville Public Radio is our guest, along with Yihyun of the Tennessean. Both have been covering the mayoral race. We're talking about what's happened so far in the race, what could be happening coming up this next Thursday on the final vote. More of this conversation after this break.